Sometimes the places we trust with our money feel distant, cold, corporate, designed more for profit than for people. But what if banking could look different? What if instead of wealth being pulled out of our communities, it was reinvested intentionally back into them?
A lot of our work is centered around finding ways to help build resilience in communities.
Fueling local projects, empowering entrepreneurs like me, and creating real, measurable change in people's lives.
By helping put the right people together, you're more likely to be able to have that longer-term sustainable impact on community.
This is a conversation about trust, it's about local impact, and about choosing relationships over transactions.
There's no place that you could have worked the 20 years or so that I put in with the credit union that you could kind of go back and tangibly say, look at all the things I did.
My name is Mark Brand. You are listening to Better. I'm a social impact entrepreneur, so I build businesses that are in service to the greater community. So Better was formed to be a tool for everyday advocacy. I think anytime we take people's attention, we have to give something. Folks, welcome back to Better. This is our new format. In between interview weeks, we are going to be having these discussions that are really a little bit of a dissemination of what we've just got to listen to prior to you getting to listen to it.
Okay.
Another great episode. It was a heady one. And so I think this is going to be a really great way to synthesize some of the stuff that people can get excited about.
For sure.
And so we had my dear friend, Ken Shea, who's the president and CEO of East Coast Credit Union. And I just want people to get really, really excited about credit unions. And it's tough to sell, but this is like systemic change at its finest. So if you're anti-establishment, if you're like excited about the Molotov cocktails and the raids, like you're excited about the system being burnt down, this is an actual tangible way to change the system inherently because we know that money moves everything.
Right. And I also found too with this interview, like Ken put it in a way that I can understand because I don't know banks. I was one of those kids that, your dad tells you what bank to go with and you just do it because you don't know any better.
Sure.
But it is like the whole interview made me think like, oh, I'm going to look this up after because it is interesting and it is looking at it in a different way.
Definitely. I think, where I share with my friends is like, don't inherit bad habits. Don't like for what sake? Like it's 2025. Like let's reevaluate all of the ways that we're investing and why. And it feels like there's just some things that are too big to ignore. So it's like, oh no, this is the safest thing and it's the safest thing. And if you push people on it, like, why is it the safest thing? Nobody has an answer. It's just, well, it's cause.
Right.
Well, cause why?
Yeah.
And so having Ken here to talk about how the credit unions manage their money. First of all, I'm a member. Whoever has an account is a member. So that means we're owners.
Which
of
is
the credit
sick.
union, right? So you're immediately an owner of the credit union.
Right.
They are beholden to the choices of their mass membership, right? So East Coast Credit Union sponsors us over at the Nook and our mission to feed more people in a significant way, 6 figures plus a year. So they are investing money that I am banking with them and other people are back into feeding the community. Conversely, a bank, why it makes so much money and why shareholder versus stakeholder here is so important is they're investing in the things that make the most money on the planet. And what would those things be?
I like getting it back into the community, which I think the big five, they're not doing that.
Yeah.
Right?
And they are in a way too. So this is like, it's a tough line to walk because we appreciate that banking does great things for the community. They invest in a lot of things. They sponsor beautiful things. They take good care of folks. But this is literally apples and oranges. They are completely different things. The only things they do the same is hold your money and give you access. A credit union is baked into the community. They are lending money to groups like us that are high risk to do things that impact the community. They're making like capital accessible where it wouldn't be through a traditional financial institution, but they're really there to do bespoke work with you. So if you walked into one tomorrow and were like, hey, I've got $300 and I'd like to invest it in a way that's meaningful, they would book an appointment with you and sit you down. You would be ushered out of the other place because it's just not for you. Like that's not what that's for. And so it's a different beast altogether. So it's not like one's bad and one's good. I have my own personal opinion on that. Right? But that's not what the conversation with Ken was about. It's more about, look how cool this thing is because these guys don't message it. Like when you think about credit unions, you think about some rinky-dinky thing like you were on a trip over to Newfoundland and you stopped at a ferry terminal and saw one. I was like, oh, cool, look at that. It's a credit union. No, they're everywhere.
Yeah. And I was going to say, like driving on like the Bedford Highway, I saw a billboard for East Coast Credit Union. And I was like, that looks familiar, but I didn't know enough about it. So why do you think people like don't know so much about credit unions?
It's the same way that you see fast food 10,000 times more than you see cooking for yourself and local stuff. Machines make money, and for those machines to continue to make money, they have to permeate your eyeballs at all times. So you are going to be pushed through paid advertising. This is the way to go. This is what this is. Massive organizations creating their campaigns. Whereas as a community engagement group, if I said to East Coast Credit Union, hey, how'd you spend your money this year? And they were like, on Deloitte building an ad campaign that then cost us $50 million, we would be concerned. We're like, that's not what our mandate is. Our mandate is actually to feed people with that money, which is what they're doing instead. But that puts them at a disadvantage. Because the only way we learn about things in this day and age, unfortunately, aside from this, which I'm so excited about, is through mass marketing and media. Mm-hmm. So if I'm watching the hockey game, you're not going to see a credit union ad. You're going to see the big five just owning that space and having sponsorship and paid for sponsorship, because where they're also investing their money, the returns on investment are strictly financial. So those are in things that are often harming the planet. And that's an easy Google search. So if you care about the planet and place and you want to see the difference between the two, feed it into a Google search and just see what the difference is for yourself. I don't want to go into it too deeply because I think it also biases people. But I think folks should really seriously think about if they care about their local community, if they care about the place that they're in, you should move your money immediately. It will be a blip on another institution. But to a credit union, it matters a great deal because the relationship is with you, it's with your family, it's with everybody else on all levels. And I think Ken really shared that with us today. In a way, and this is what always gets me about credit unions, I want them to be more popular. Right. And I want them to want to be more popular. And they're like, we just went from 100 million to 1.6 billion ourselves. Yeah. Right? Like they're catching a fire. But I hope this episode lights that fire even brighter and bigger.
And Ken's such a chill guy. Like, you'd never know he was the CEO. Like, it's great. Like, he was so just, like, a pleasure to listen to. And, like, the way he explained things, it was so just, like, everyday talk. It wasn't using these terms that people may not understand. Like, he was just so open, friendly, answering your questions so well. Like, yeah, he's just a cool dude.
Well, he's not jockeying for another job.
Yeah, right?
We say in our partnerships all the time, it's like, and we use CMOs or chief marketing officers as an example, because in our world, we're often doing partnerships with them. What's it look like to sponsor the work that we do as a charitable organization, but more importantly, like on a day-to-day? And if we make that meeting happen and then we land one of those deals, well, we are beholden to the typical C-suiter is out of their job within 3 years. So they're in there, they make a big impact, they leverage that to move to the next job, to move to the next thing. In the big five, et cetera, you see a lot of that movement, right? Ken's been with the credit union for 20 years. Yeah. He has a 50-year plan. You can believe in that. You can rely on that. That's why we're partnered with them, because I only do a minimum of 5 years at this point, which other organizations won't do. They want to kick the tires for a year. They want to see, then the new CMO comes in, and then everything changes. But we're in service to community. So if I start we send 1,500 meals a week to the Prestons and to Cherrybrook, African Nova Scotian and Black Nova Scotian neighborhoods, predominantly on the poverty line. We're sending food there. The CMO changes his mind. What happens?
It's done.
Yeah, but it can't be. Right. You can't not do it anymore.
Exactly.
So for 13, 14, 15 years, we've created projects. We never walk away. Once it's created, it has to stay. So we need partners like the credit union that aren't going to change.
Yeah.
And also who care about this as part of their DNA. This is what they actually do. Versus somebody who might get excited because they saw me on a TV thing one time and they're like, okay, we should sponsor this one time. But if I say to them for 5 years, I need you to commit to this as a minimum, they're just not able to do that. Mm-hmm. So again, it's apples and oranges. Yeah. When we want to build in community, we build with credit union. We want to build a small or medium business, we build with credit unions. When we want to impact our local community, it's with credit unions. We just need to change the way we're looking at all this stuff, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And if somebody like me who's been with the Big Five for, since I've had like a debit card, really, how would I get into contact with ECCU? Like what kind of how could you help me get into that direction?
So a block and a half from where this is the difference.
Right.
It literally is like their branches are right here. You see their hours. They got a massive building in Dartmouth. Like you walk into that building, you put your hand up and like, hey, like I'm thinking about doing this thing. And it's done. It's like really, really simple. And you can call them and be like, hey, I'm thinking about doing my first mortgage, or I'm thinking about this, or I want to move my credit card. Or they are not biased. They're not based by sales. They're not going to try and sell you anything. And I think in a day and age where everything is pushed to us and everything is sales and everything is about like landing that and then disappearing service-wise, this is the difference. You're dealing with a real relationship. And, this is so interesting. And I think anybody who knows me and who's listening to this, we're not endorsed. Like we don't take brand deals. We don't do that stuff. And we do that not because we don't get pitched all the time. We do, but nothing aligns with me. This is a tool that I'm talking about right now to make your life literally unequivocally better.
Right.
So it's a very simple thing. Like you should drink clean water and you should breathe clean. It's like you should be with a credit union.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which one. Like Ken wouldn't care if you were with ECCU or with CUA. He doesn't care.
Right.
Because it's all doing the same work for the community. So it's like a way we have to change our mentality into we can have direct control and impact on the things that we care about by simply moving our money into a different place. So while you may not be able to write me a check to feed the Preston Area Food Network, Maddie, you might not be. I mean, you might. I might, see what. Okay, all right.
Broke 20-year-old.
It was worth asking. You might not be able to do that, but with banking with the credit union, that 10% of what they're doing, and we're like, I don't know, maybe 10% of that, that's impacting directly the work that we're talking about.
Right.
Not maybe, it is. And so there's direct lines that we can draw versus not being able to find out any information.
So what makes Ken different from other financial institutions that you've worked with?
Yeah, in fairness to other like people who are working C-suite in like capital business and in other things, is like their job is different. Whereas you can see why Ken and I get along so well is my job doesn't delineate from me. Like I won't walk out of the studio and be any different than I am. I go to my job, I'm the exact same person. I'm so excited about the same things.
Right.
Ken's job allows him, and this is very, really important differentiation, allows him to be exactly who he wants to be as a community member. If he went back to work for one of the big five, his KPIs or key performance indicators of his job would be so pressure filled to be eating up as much of that capital as possible versus it's a 180. His position is really reliant on growth is just happening naturally because people are starting to understand how much of an impact this has. His job is to discern on what are the best community partners, where they can most be useful. So he's joyful all the time. Right. I shared with you in this piece, or I shared with him, I was with 35 of the CEOs of all of the credit unions across Canada, or a good majority of them, I should say. And I cooked for them in Marina Del Rey, and I was facilitating this thing for them in and around impact and community. The energy was so loving and just generally like, we get to do this work.
In a room full of CEOs?
Of financial institutions. Like this is joyful, exciting. I got to, be a fly on the wall because I also keynoted it, but there was other keynotes who were being brought in, and they were being brought in and around like how you can be best in your community. Not how you can extract the most, not how you can make the most profit, not how you can, squeeze the most juice out of the thing. So what makes Ken different and what makes credit unions inherently different is their reporting and who they're trying to appease, and how it's so critically important to grow with community versus take from community. So the analogy that I was using in the interview was you go to a mass grocery store. So Whole Foods is now an Amazon company. We know that. Like,
yes.
It's very straightforward. So Jeff Bezos directly influences my $9 Satsumo mandarin that I really want to eat because it's the most peelable, most delicious orange, even though $9 is obscene.
Right.
Now, I could go to the Nova Scotia Farmers Market this weekend, which I will at the Halifax Brewery Market, and I'm looking at my watch like it's going to be tomorrow because I wish it was. And I know two of the farmers there. One of the farmers, Tom, has become a friend. He has a fig tree. He has a secret stash of figs. I'm going to get to eat some of those. I'm really excited about it. But I'm more excited about how Tom employs from his community and what goes on there. I don't know anybody who works at Whole Foods.
Right.
Right. I went and spoke at their Vision Day, I want to say in like 2014 or 15, and wasn't very popular. So I was brought down there with leadership, and it was before they sold. And my talk essentially was a 180 from what I think they thought I was going to do, which was come and talk about community. And I was like, what I'm actually going to talk about is your waste practices and the people that you are impacting and what you think you're doing, but you're not. And it was hugely popular with some of the lower leadership. The higher leadership, not so excited.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about the banks. They have a tremendous opportunity to impact community, but because of the way they're built, they can't do it the same way. They can make these big, beautiful donation checks to organizations a couple times a year, and that looks great. I'm telling you, every dollar that you put into a credit union goes in the right way. Similarly to every fig that I buy from Tom goes directly back into Nova Scotian soil, into making that more robust, into having better offerings. You can see the impact. You can taste it, literally. And so the same with the credit unions versus the bank conversation. Again, it's not saying that one is better than the other, although I kind of am. It's also saying they're just completely different planets.
Right.
Like they're not even remotely the same.
Yeah, and it's just about knowing where your money goes.
And being able to Google search it.
Right.
Like have a look at it. Like go home today. I don't want you to do this.
Oh, last time it was a chicken. Now I'm going to do.
This is important. You bank with a certain bank.
Right.
I want you to look at where your money went this year. As a shareholder, right? So you've put the money in. Where has that gone and what has it done in the world? And I want you to ask yourself on the back end of that, does that align with the things that you espouse, the things that you care about, and the things that you support? And if the answer is yes, then you stay with your bank. It's very, very simple. If the answer is a definitive no, then maybe you take your money and walk down the street and take an hour of your time, literally, to be your own advocate, but to also advocate for your own community wherever you're listening to this. Mm-hmm. Consider it.
Yeah.
Because it's a way to move. And the banks will have to react. If the movement gets big enough, the banks will have to act differently. If they have to act differently, then the things that we're most concerned about on the planet will change inherently, because the way they're being funded is through banks. Majority through banks. Their relationship with government, all of those things start to shift. And I'm serious when I say if enough people move, they'll have to move with them.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is just asking questions too, like being curious. Like that episode with Ken, I knew ECCU sponsored your show. As a producer, I obviously know that, but to know what they actually do, it is very interesting, and they are just a block away. It doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt to ask questions.
It doesn't. Yeah, to know where your money goes as the biggest resource that you literally have in your life. Yeah. Like you move around, you work with it, where you're spending it seems to be such a focus, particularly your generation and above now. We talk about it a lot. It seems fashionable. But where your resources parked should be the next layer of that conversation. Yeah. Because it's sitting somewhere and it's doing something right now. Whether that's doing something good or doing something bad is easily discernible.
You got to ask questions.
So go find out.
Yep.
And definitely get excited about this episode because, Better was created to be tools for resilience. Right? And so if we break down what that means, one of these tools should be your own financial awareness and freedom. And the freedom to choose where your money is spent. And you can choose. And so I think this has been bubbling for me since I started this show. And it's hard to place it because you'd be like, okay, we're talking to Bumby this week. And then next week we're talking to Nadia and we're talking about saving the elephants and we're talking about Indigenous land rights and we're talking about this funds all of those things.
Right.
Like all of the other guests that come on to play, this funds what they do.
Definitely.
And so it's a part that I'm excited to talk about every season now and the intricacies of it. And not just because they sponsor this generously, because as I said, they did not insist on having an episode. So I'm excited for you all to listen to it and to ask us as many questions as you want on the back end of this on socials, because I will be in front of my keyboard excitedly saying why.
I love it.
Thank you, Madi.
Yes, thank you.